Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio with an unexpected episode today. Yeah, I was just finishing up editing another episode, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna look on Reddit, see if anything's going on. Oh my gosh! Yeah, leak season apparently is back right now. We just finished spoiler season for Outlaws of Ladder Junction. That comes out tomorrow, I believe, actually, and we're already getting more leaks from Modern Horizons 3 with some kind of callbacks in a way. Let's jump into it. So, first up, again, this is a modern set, right? And with a modern set, we definitely get, commanders. It's going to be interesting to see how Modern Horizons 3 goes. Kind of like Modern Horizons 2, we might be getting, Commander Horizons in a way, as some might say. And this is an early sneak peek. Again, leaks. I will emphasize these are leaks. They are not officially confirmed to be real cards. They are images posted on Reddit that typically, I'd say 99% of the time, are legitimate. And these look very legitimate, though, of course, they are a little blurry, so my apologies for the potato quality. That being said, Grist, voracious larva is the first leak I'm going to be going over, and I'm going to be 100% honest right now. I literally took these images, threw them really quick into my computer, and said, all right, I'm just going to turn on the camera and talk, so I've actually not read these yet at all. I'm going to be giving you my quick take thoughts without ever seeing them before, so I might mess up, and my apologies for that, but let's jump into it. So, Grist, voracious larva. Grist is back, but as a larva. A 1/2 legendary creature insect. Like, look at that bug over there. It's legendary. Wow. With Death Touch to cost a single green mana. That being said, whenever Grist, voracious larva, or another creature enters the battlefield under control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay a single green mana. If you do, exile Grist, then you may return it to the battlefield transformed on its owner's control. So we are getting flip walkers back. Some love flip walkers, some don't love flip walkers, some don't care about flip walkers, whatever. But we are getting them back, kind of like whatever, like Jace Bellerin, was that one of them essentially from, what set was that? That was a long time ago. Anyways, we're getting flip walkers back now, and Grist is one of them. Apparently, we've got Grist the Plague Swarm, and I believe the color identity of this card, again, it's pretty blurry, I think is actually a Golgari, which you can see next to the Legendary on the left side of that. I believe it's Golgari, which would make sense with the treatment of the card. It is, gold with, black on the left side, green on the right side. So correct me, the console, if I'm wrong on this, but yeah, I'm assuming this is a Golgari commander, actually, not just mono green. So it is a Legendary Planeswalker Grist that starts off with 3 loyalty, +1, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards, put a death touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. Interesting. Okay. Destroy target artifact or enchantment for the -2 and -6 for each creature card in your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except a 1/1 black and green insect. Okay, that is spicy. Yeah, really, really spicy. My apologies for, again, the potato quality of this, but so first up, we've got making creature tokens, which is nice, again. And if a black card is milled this way, so we just have to mill a black card to actually get that Death Touch counter. A 1/1 is not that bad, obviously, to give that +1, but a 1/1 Death Touch and plus the mill 2 is nice, very nice. Obviously, that builds into the, ultimate ability as well. -2, yeah, some removal is great, but yeah, if you can get to that -6, that is really spicy, because in a self-mill strategy like this, which is how I'm spoiling right now, this is how I would build around it. I definitely build self-mill with this, maybe even like some of those exchange graveyard type cards, there's really not too many of them out there, but like exchanging your graveyard with your library, and then being like, oh, okay, cool, got a ton of creatures in my graveyard. Yeah, being able to get a lot of things in your graveyard, and then being able to ultimate this, yeah, that can be a game-ending thing, especially, again, because this is making token copies of it. It's just 1/1s, but you do get whatever effects, abilities, triggers that they have. So, yeah, you could very easily, and also, like, their mana values are the same then, too. Like, the token copy would be as well. So, like, Gary out of your graveyard, you can win with Gary, Grave Merchant of Asphodel, for those of you who don't know. Yeah, you could very easily win with, like, Gary. You're like, okay, I get rid of, 20 creatures out of my graveyard, and now I'm getting token copies of them. Here's all these ETBs I get right away. Have fun with that. Now, obviously, it does require some setup to actually flip this commander, right? Again, an early creature enters the battlefield under your control from your graveyard, or if you cast from your graveyard. I mean, there's plenty of creatures out there in these colors that you can utilize that with. Resummoning Skeleton comes to mind, obviously. So, like, being able to just do that, or having, it counts whenever this comes out of your graveyard, too. So, like, if you have this in your graveyard and you reanimate it from your graveyard, that works as well. Obviously, any kind of reanimation works with this. You have to pay that extra green to do so, but this is not a hard Planeswalker to flip. I'm not going to say it's the easiest one out there. There's only so many, obviously, but it's not a very hard one to do so, and obviously, you are benefited by milling yourself to get creatures in your graveyard and actually get them back out. So, yes, do that, flip it, get some tokens. Obviously, cards that work well with this on the Plague Swarm side are going to be like doubling season type effects are going to be amazing, obviously. I mean, those are just... That's kind of the card where it's like, if I don't talk about doubling season when it comes to a commander makes a token, I always get comments like, what about doubling season? And it's like, yes, I understand. It's a very good card. Any kind of those token doublers, parallel lives, just with that first one, right, being able to do that twice, that's very nice. But also being able to, again, with that ultimate now, get basically 2 copies of every single creature out of your graveyard. They're 1/1s, sure, but that doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, sure, if you're concerned with the size, throw a coat of arms in there and have fun. But yeah, I guess... Insect tribal kind of cards could be utilized as well to help out with this too. You could also utilize maybe some cards that deal with, there's not too many in black and green, right? But like double strike, first strike as well to work with that death touch if you really want to do that. I wouldn't really focus too heavily on that. I guess what I would focus heavily though on are probably proliferate type effects, which after, the new Phyrexia sets or whatever, essentially we got more and more proliferate effects. So yeah, utilize those. Do some crazy things to get this so that, and I guess I probably should have mentioned with doubling season as well. Getting to that ultimate quickly can be very, very powerful. I mean, you don't even have to get this commander out, essentially, until you're, like, ready to go. Once you're set up, you're ready to go. Let's say you have doubling season in play, and a, like, resummoning Skeleton in your graveyard or whatnot. You play your commander, you get it out, you flip it flips into this, and then all of a sudden you just ultimate right away, because, again, this does start off at 3, doubling to 6. Obviously, get you there right away with that doubling season type effect, getting twice many counters on it. So, yes, this plays well into that, too. Vorinclex could work as well with that as well. A lot of avenues to just, like, a big, spicy, like, again, set up everything and then get your commander out very cheaply and flip it very cheaply and win very cheaply, potentially. Again, if you just have everything in your graveyard, and again, my example, there's probably a better example, right, than resummoning Skeleton. That's just the one I'm going to give. So, your entire setup is, right, entire graveyard is full of creatures, right? You have a resummoning Skeleton in there, costs 1 and a black to get out of your graveyard, put into play, do that, and then all of a sudden, or have your commander play first, play your commander, then you pay a single green mana, flip your commander, ultimate your commander, everything out of your graveyard, all the ETBs, you probably just win right then and there, right? Like Ray, Merch, Fast, Fidel, ETB, goodbye every opponent. So, yeah, this is definitely one where it's spicy. I mean, double the ETBs again because of doubling season, so... There's some crazy things that you can do with it. It does require some setup, obviously. This also could just go into Insect Tribal, probably. These flip walkers are kind of awkward, like, when it comes to, like, oh, should I include them in a Planeswalker deck? Probably not, because, again, it does take, like, some actual setup and build around to actually get them to flip. Insect Tribal could be a place for this one in the 99, but as a commander, it's pretty spicy, pretty effective. There's some crazy cool things that you can do with it. Yeah, Karth the Lion, is that the one that's in Golgari as well? The Planeswalker Helper, too. That could obviously be part of it as well. There's a lot of cool things that you can do this one. A very cool new potential card. Again, I'm going to keep saying potential card because these are leaks. Do not go buy entire decks worth of cards around these. If you're not 100% positive yourself, that is a risk you're potentially going to take. Or if you're like, hey, Playgroup, this looks like it's real. Okay, do you mind if I build a deck around it? And if it's not real, can I still just, like, print out a picture of this and just still use it because, like, I just built a deck around it? Ask first, okay? Just ask first. Regardless, let's move on to the next one. Because next up, we've got Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student. Yes, before Tamiyo was a Planeswalker, and then before Tamiyo was Evil Phyrexian, we have Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student, a 0/3 flying Moonfolk Wizard for a single blue mana. That says, whenever it attacks, investigate. So that's just kind of interesting, like, Inquisitive Student. just picturing this, right? Inquisitive Student, okay, like, I'm sitting taking notes. I punched my teacher in the face, and now I get a clue. What? Okay, no. Attacking is not how you should be investigating things and learning things, but Tamiyo, what are you doing? Regardless, if you attack, you investigate. I guess you're hitting for 0, so it's just like, haha, like playfully. I don't know, like a slap on the back, like, haha. I don't know. Anyways, you're hitting for 0, which is fine. Just on the attack is what matters, and it does have flying, so that's good because you're not really going to be sending Tamiyo into danger most of the time. Then you'll just like swing at the player that doesn't have any flyers, or like you're just like, hey, do you mind if I attack you and just get my clue, please? Like I'll do something for you, okay? Being able to get a clue each turn, that's quite nice. I mean, it's card advantage. You have to pay for the card advantage again, pay 2 to extra sacrifice that clue. There are other ways to take advantage of clues as well. That being said, whenever you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. I haven't looked at the other ones yet, but I'm just going to guess that this is actually the easiest one to flip. Again, Grist actually requires a little bit of setup, right? You got to get something in your graveyard that you can get out of your graveyard, or Grist out of your graveyard, or, yeah, you got to do something, right? This is like, hey, what's good in Magic and Commander in general? Drawing cards. Can you draw 3 cards in a turn? Yes. I mean, literally, just like on your turn, if you just cast like Divination, 3 mana, draw 2, you got there because you already drew your card for the turn. So very, very easy to flip. You can essentially flip whenever you want to. Obviously, you can flip at instant speed as well, which is very, very, very valuable because let's say an opponent's like trying to take out your little 0-3 Tamiyo for whatever reason. You're like, oh no. Okay, I guess I'll cast my draw spell at instant speed. Don't play Divination. Anyways, Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar 2, starting Loyalty, Legendary Planeswalker Tamiyo. Again, I believe this one would be in Simic colors. It's kind of hard to see, again, like the indicator, the color indicator on the left side, right, next to the Legendary Planeswalker. But, I mean, the rest of the card, like, obviously looks like it is Simic, right? Anyways. +2 until your next turn. Whenever a creature attacks you or Planeswalker control gets -1/-0 until end turn. So some nice defense there. Like, okay, slow you down a little bit. -3, turn target insert card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, add 1 mana of any color. Okay, so I mean, that's decently expensive. I mean, 3 mana is 3 mana. 3 loyalty is a good amount for that. Getting a mana back out of it's quite nice. I mean, I think you're probably going to be playing, I haven't read the ultimate yet, but I think you're probably going to be playing toward the ultimate, though. We'll see. -7, draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library rounded up. You can unload if you have no extra hand size. Yeah, that's what you're going to build this deck towards. You're a Simic player, right? Obviously, if you're playing this, you are going to be like, okay, how quickly can I get to that ultimate? Luckily, and I say luckily for myself as someone who might be playing against this, doubling season doesn't just get you there right away with this. Now, do you have plenty of ways to actually get there? Yeah, I mean, you're in Simic, which might be the 2 best colors at proliferating, essentially. I mean, blue is probably the best, but yeah. You've got most of the best proliferate effects. You also have doubling season, essentially. So, yeah, you've got ways to get counters on this very, 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 very quickly. And essentially, when you do again, you are going to be drawing half your deck, and you just get to keep half your deck. And your opponents can never stop you from having half your deck, unless they make you discard, obviously. But, again, having no maximum hand size as an emblem is huge, because, again, yeah, if it's on like a reliquary tower, lands can still be dealt with, right? It might be harder to deal with lands when it comes to most removal spells, but like lands can still be dealt with. Other cards that give no expand size, like Thought Vessel, Artifact, can be dealt with. This is an emblem. To my knowledge, we haven't had any ways yet to deal with emblems. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, you just get there and all of a sudden you have half your deck being like, okay, it's my turn. This is one of the ones I'm gonna just side note right here. This might be a little annoying to not only play against but play with once you get to that point, because your turns might take forever, because and it's not really your fault that your turns take forever at that point, but you have 40 cards in your hand. At that point, you're like, okay, like, what's the best move? Every single turn, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I guess let me just look through these 40 cards and make a decision. Good luck with that. Back aside, though, that's quite fun to play with, though. I mean, it might be a little annoying to play with it against, but, like, it's quite fun to be like, I have all the power! And kind of like, once you ult, you should be able to find a strategy to win the game, essentially. And, of course, you can kind of play into that. There could be certain cards out there that, like, okay, give you, like, free discard, like Ayula's Influence, or, like, what is it? Not Opposition. Gosh, what's the one with, like, Urza on it? Like, Mind Over Matter? Is that the one or whatever? Like, the untapping? So, yeah, you can do some crazy things where you can take advantage of, like, just discarding cards for free. Or, like, Page of the Moon, like, just, like, okay, pay a mana, get 2 lands from your hand into play. Just get all your lands into play. There's obviously other cards, too. Like, hey, put every single land from your hand into play. That one, Strixhaven Mage. Again, I absolutely did not do any prep work for this episode, except for just putting the cards here because I was so excited to talk about them. But, yes, that card as well. Cards that essentially say, dump all the lands in your hand to play. If you can do that, you probably just win Cultivator Colossus as well. So, yeah, being able to get all your lands out of your hand and just ramp an absurd amount can be a good way to do that. Again, taking advantage of, actually, I mean, literally, if you just have Psychosis Crawler in play and then you ult this, you probably win, because again, you drain your opponents. So again, cards that actually trigger off of you drawing cards as well. Psychosis Crawler is drain your opponent 1 life for each card you're drawing, essentially. So yeah, this is a Planeswalker commander. I mean, commander, it's not a Planeswalker, but flips into one that I think could be pretty deadly. I think this is, I mean, Grist is, I think, more of an interesting build around that has a more like focused function on what you want, or more focused function. You have to focus a bit more to actually make it work. This one's more like, hey, you want to draw a bunch of cards? Cool. I'm glad again that this one can't just doubling season, you know, get you half your library right away. That being said, there are ways to pretty quickly, pretty easily ult this and then, yeah, win. Yeah, that's pretty spicy. I mean, obviously, again, like the fronts, I think the front side on each of these is basically like, you're not going to really build around that too much. You're just going to build around more so like, how do I flip this efficiently, quickly? Again, with this one, you literally don't have to actually even get it out. I mean, it might be good to get it out early, right? Just to get some extra, you know, clue tokens. And yes, that can play into, I kind of like skipped over that. That obviously can play into your 3rd card drawn in a turn. Like if you just sacrifice 2 clues on your turn for 4 mana, you flip it. Or like, you know, 3 on an opponent's turn, you flip it. That's a good amount of mana to invest in that, but still, I mean, it might be a good thing to just like wait until the turn before you. If you don't have an instant speed draw spell, just like, okay, I pay 6 mana, sacrifice 3 clues, flip this, next turn, go crazy. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. You're not really going to build around, I mean, maybe a clue tribal, some people might, but you're not going to really build around the front part too much, I wouldn't think. You're really going to build around, like, how do I ultimate this as quickly as possible and set myself up to win from there. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. It's interesting to see Tamiyo back, and I think, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but this is the first time that we're seeing Grist or Tamiyo as just legendary creatures and not Planeswalkers, so very interesting. Moving on, Sorin of House Markov. Little baby Sorin. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell in the art. Again, the art's a little blurry in these two. Because again, leaks. I'm gonna keep saying that it's a leak. So yeah, we don't get the highest quality images sometimes. Regardless, Sorin looks like a little, like, just like, I am a little lord. Look at me at dinner. Mother, pass the glasses of blood, please. Thank you. That's how Sorin talks as a child. Anyways, a 1/4 human noble with lifelink for 1 and a black extort, which is really interesting because, again, extort just on the front side. Players get confused on this all the time, and I don't blame them at all, new players. But this is reminder text for extort, so even though it has an Orzhov symbol on it, this would normally be a, well, mono black commander, because that, you know, reminder doesn't actually give it the white. That being said, on the backside, it is an Orzhov commander. Regardless, at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin, then return to the battlefield, transformed under his owner's control. Okay, let's just quickly go through that. So, in Commander, this is the easiest thing of all time. I mean, Tamiyo is more flexible, I guess I should say, in that, yeah, you can, on your opponent's turns, again, this is your post-combat main phase for Sorin. Tamiyo, on your opponent's turns, you can flip. It doesn't have to be on your turn. That being said, Sorin literally has printed on it like, hey, this is how you flip. Obviously, the 1/4 of the lifelink could help, you know, but all you need to do is literally cast a single spell, because you're in Commander. You've got 3 opponents. You cast a single spell. You pay a white or black mana, and you drain each opponent 1, and you gain 3, because that's what extorting does. So, yeah, you literally just have to cast 1 spell and pay a mana, and then you flip Sorin. So, again, Grist, I find to be the most interesting so far at the front side, because that actually takes effort to actually flip it. These two really don't at all, which is interesting. Again, this one is less flexible than Tamiyo, in that you can't do it on an opponent's turn. Just keep that in mind. That being said, let's take a look at the backside. 3 starting loyalty Sorin. Extort apparently on a Planeswalker. Nice. So again, you don't lose that extort. +2, get a food token. Gross. I mean, like, not gross like, wow, that's powerful. I mean, it probably plays in other things. I haven't read it yet, but probably plays in other things. But, like, that might be one of the worst abilities a Planeswalker has. Like, I make a food token. Your opponents are like, whoa, a food token. Good for you. -1, Sorin deals damage equal to the amount of life you gain this turn to any target. Okay, that's spicy. All right, that's a really good -1, I will say. Obviously, you can take out creatures, can take out planeswalkers, can take out your opponent's faces. If that was just creatures, it would be much worse. But since it can just be your opponent's faces, you can easily find ways to gain a ton of life. There are plenty of cards out there that are like, I mean, not plenty, but there's enough cards out there like double your life total. Or like when you, or like Gary, like you drain and then you gain based on the amount of life your opponent's lost, you drain all your opponents. Also, this has extort on it too. So yeah, you can very easily gain more life than an opponent has, -1, and take them out. That's kind of like an ultimate in a way. Like, it does require setup, obviously, it requires the right card, but like, that -1 is kind of like an ultimate in a way, because it's just like, take out a player, essentially. Again, it's because it says any target. Yeah, it's pretty gross. -6, gain control target creature, becomes a vampire to other types, put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Sorin. Sorry, it's a little blurry down there or whatever, but I think I read that properly. Essentially, you steal a creature, and it's a vampire. It also gets lifelink if you control something else other than Sorin or it that is a white permanent, which you probably have. So, again, like, how much are you going to want to work up to that 6? I mean, yeah, that could be very valuable to, like, steal your opponent's best creatures. And, of course, that lifelink really helps you in actually, you know, dealing damage, gaining life, and then actually playing into that -1, too. More so, though, I think you're probably just going to build this one around, at least I think the way that I would build around it, is just really focusing on, again, hey, how can I just gain absurd amounts of life and just take my opponents out with this Sorin? That's what I would be doing. Of course, you are in Orzhov, so you've got ways to gain a ton of life. You also have ways to double up life loss. You also have ways to gain life whenever your opponents are losing life as well. Let me know in the comments below, there's got to be some kind of way out there to give this Sorin lifelink. I know it's like Planeswalker, but like there's got to be maybe one of those like runes. I can't remember. There's certain like things that can attach to permanents. Maybe that would give it lifelink. I don't know. There's got to be a way out there. I mean, like, yeah, there's probably a way to like turn Sorin into a creature, which you then give lifelink. So you can actually just gain life with it as well, and then activate twice in a turn. That's way too complex. Basically, just get like a life doubler, like Beacon of Immortality. Is that something, essentially? Just do something like that. Do a lot of life swapping type things as well. Yeah, that's how I would build around it. Just trying to, like, essentially utilize that -1 to just be a one-shot KO on an opponent. Yeah, that's probably about it. And again, this one's super easy to flip. So, yeah, just, like, essentially get yourself set up properly for that, and then essentially get this out, cast a spell, extort, flip, game over for an opponent, essentially. So this is pretty easy to do. Yeah, I mean, obviously, just gaining a bunch of life with this, just destroying your opponents is great. Yeah, that's all I got to say about this one. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And finally, again, leak. I will remind you that these are leaks. I recommend that if you want to build around these commanders, ask your playgroup if they're okay with that, because this is super early. It's not official. And also say, like, hey, if it actually doesn't actually end up being a real card, or you could just print this myself and then play with that, because, like, I didn't want to have just wasted all this money on a deck that I built. So, yeah, just ask your playgroup first, okay? Ral Monsoon Mage, a 1/3 human wizard for 1 and a red. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. I will mention that we did see 4 of these leaks. Essentially, this is the last of the images I'm going to be showing. I don't know if I missed something or not, but I'm assuming that there's a white one as well, a white planeswalker as well, because... Or no, we already got a Johnny. Did we get a Johnny? I think we got a Johnny, right? No, the console. I think we already got a Johnny, so there you go. There's the cycle, right? Okay, anyways. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 to cast. Whenever you cast in sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Ral deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you may exile Ral. If you do, return to the battlefield, transformed under zone of control. Again, this is a very easy one to flip, but like it is one where it might not flip when you want it to, which is kind of funny. So I do kind of like that. That being said, like the Baral essentially amount, again, this is a 2-mana commander like Baral, that reduces the cost of your sorcery spells by 1. Low to the ground, like basically Goblin Electromancer essentially, but like as a commander, that is a very, 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 very powerful thing, with human and wizard being the creature types, both being very relevant. Guess I should have mentioned with Sorin. Those, obviously being a vampire is very relevant too. Yeah, this is quite easy to flip, but again, let's see, it has to be during your turn though. So again, Tamiyo is the most flexible one when it comes to flipping. Can be on an opponent's turn, and it's quite easy to do. Requires very minimal setup at all. You just need to draw cards. Sorin is, I'd say, the easiest out of every one to flip. It's literally just cast a spell, extort once, you got it. On your turn, though, only, so it's not as flexible. Grist requires setup to actually happen. Again, you have to like actually reanimate something in your graveyard or cast something in your graveyard. It takes a little bit of setup to do so. This one takes almost no setup, but there is a luck factor to it, in that there might be a time where you're like, I really want to flip this. I've got 3 instant sorceries in my hand, and I'm easily going to be able to cast these, and you do that, and you're like, okay, do it. I lost the flip. Okay, 1 damage. I do it. Lost flip 1 damage. Okay, I do it. Lost flip 1 damage. Oh, what the? It didn't flip. It didn't flip! And again, it's only on your turn, so it's not flexible like Tamiyo is. That being said, this could easily flip on. It's like a 50% chance, right? You could easily flip, and on your turn, it happens. Also, like Quark's Thumb could be a way to like make it slightly more likely that you have, that chance essentially, right? You flip 2 coins instead of 1, basically. That being said, I do. Let me just aside real quick. I do like that they brought back because it seems like these days a lot of like the flipping effects are just like you either get this benefit or that benefit. You get like 2 benefits. I prefer the old days where it's like, no, you whiffed. Take a damage to the face for flipping badly. It's not your fault, really. It's just 50-50 chance. But I do like that there's a downside to losing and a big upside to winning. Now, let's actually get to the other part of the card, which many of you have probably read before, or read because I didn't get to it fast enough. That's my fault. 2 starting loyalty, Legend Planeswalker Rawl. Again, I believe that this one would be Is It Right based on that. I really can't see like the little like whatever you call it, identifier, the color identity thing on the left side of Legendary, but I believe this is definitely, is it? Enters battlefield, additional loyalty counter on him for each sorcery spell you've cast this turn. So actually you are benefited, right, for actually casting more and more and more spells. You could just, I guess, like cast some spells and like have those triggers on the stack so you can still like add more to Ral. So that's actually something you could do. You can have storm off to actually get to that ultimate, which we'll talk about here in a second, which I haven't read yet. +1 until your next turn in sorcery spells you cast costs 1 to cast. So basically that first part, right? -2, Ral deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control a blue permanent other than Ral. So that's pretty nice right there. I probably should have another blue permanent. -8, exile top 8 cards of your library. You may cast in sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost. That's pretty powerful. So again, this is very much a Storm commander in my opinion. Like, here's the thing. Yeah, the way that I would definitely build around it would be, I mean, I wouldn't just like work to like flip this quickly. I would work to have like a big explosive turn where I flip this in ultimate right away. Because again, you can just, chain instance essentially again. You have that cost reduction. So like, even if you have instance that costs like, let's say 1 in a blue or 1 in a red, they're now just down to a single 1. And of course you've got rituals that you can use too. Like just like I cast this spell that would cost 2, it costs me 1 now and I get 3 mana so I can cast this other one. Yeah, you can do some really powerful things with this, just casting spell for spell for spell. You just need to cast 6 spells in your turn, which again might sound like a lot, but again with that cost reduction, not really. So cast 6 instants in your turn, again responding to each one. One of those is bound, I mean like percentage-wise. Please let me know in the comments what the percentage is of actually whiffing every single one of them. Yeah, you might take damage to the face for a couple of them. That's okay though. Actually really funny when you're down to like 1 life and you're like, please flip. But yes, being able to actually just have those, triggers stay on the stack so you can actually cast again, say 6 spells in your turn, cast those, flip it, and then it's going to enter again with an additional loyalty counter on it for each in-source spell you cast this turn, which is going to be 6. It starts off at 8, and then you use ultimate right away, cast big things off the top of your library. Yeah, this is interesting because like there's like give and take with this commander where you want to be able to have big explosive spells on the top of your library, but you also want low to the ground spells so you can actually chain them together to actually flip this. Obviously, you don't have to just build around just, flipping it and getting it to ultimate right away. I do think that's a pretty spicy way to build it. You could build it around like, okay, I flip it, and then I proliferate a bunch. You're in, blue, you're in, red helps a little bit, but like blue mostly, with a lot of really good proliferate effects. So yeah, you can get more and more counters on this more quickly. There's also counter manipulation kind of thing as well in blue. And yeah, you can do some pretty spicy things with that. So I think that that's kind of how you'd build it. Again, with all these, you probably kind of want to build around just like getting to the ultimate, except for I'd say Sorin, which is like build around that -1 with Sorin. Each of these, you probably want to, Tamiyo, Grist, and Rally, you probably want to build around that ultimate and just having like a big explosive play. I'd say that Tamiyo is pretty game ending. Again, like having half your library doesn't just win you the game unless you have like a Psychosis Crawler in play. Tamiyo's pretty game ending though if you do alt. Grist, if you're set up properly, is just game ending because you can just win the game on the spot. That one's probably the most game ending out of all of them because it's just like, okay, if I do this and I have the right creatures in my graveyard, and there's probably some combos I can have with certain ones or whatever, maybe. Other creatures in my graveyard. Again, if I just have like all these creatures with a bunch of black mana symbols in them, and then I have Gary come into play, my Devotion of Black is going to be enough just to drain everyone out. And if I doubling season, I get twice as many of those. So yeah, Grist is like, I win on the spot. Takes more setup though. Sorin isn't I win on the spot, and it's also not potentially building around the ultimate, building around that -1. Ral, I do think is, I mean, you could potentially win on the spot. Like, if you happen to hit, like, let's say, like, if you're building extra turns with this, gross, but very effective. Again, if you just exile a card to stop your library, you hit like 2 extra turn spells, including like a time stretch where you get 2 more. Yeah, or like copy spells obviously can work really well with this too. So yeah, if you build like Ral, like some like cantrippy effects, like low to the ground, like cantrippy effects, some rituals, some extra turn, some copy. Yeah, I could see this being very powerful, and also again that ultimate actually winning you the game. So like doing like a big turn where you just get Ral out, then cast a ton of spells, flip it right away, and then all of a sudden, you know, your opponents are just gone then. Again, keep in mind, it is during your turn. So this has to be in your turn. You can't just do this on an opponent's turn, which I think is pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess that wouldn't really work with, like, you may pay them without paying their costs. Because you, well, no, you can. Anyways, don't worry about it being on an opponent's turn. So it's interesting just kind of like the different ways each of these flip walkers go about it, and just kind of like if they're like early or later, or like, again, if you're trying to go for that big play, or if you're trying to go with a win. Yeah, I think they're pretty interesting designs for sure. I think players are going to be pretty excited about them. Players, I mean, love the original flip blockers. Many do. Some I'm sure are going to like these as well. Yeah, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite out of all these new leaks are. Again, please, please, please take everything I've said today with a grain of salt, because these are not official spoilers from what I am seeing. They have not been confirmed by WotC, nor will they probably ever be confirmed by WotC until the actual spoiler season starts and someone's like, this card has just been revealed and no one's ever seen it before. And then everyone's like, no, we've all seen that before. It's a leak, Wizards. Thanks for your presentation, Wizards, but no, this is a leak. We've seen it. No one's seen it. There's no problems here. No leaks going on. Okay. Yeah, this is probably, if I had to say, you know, like percentage chance, 99.9% chance that these are legitimate. Seem incredibly legitimate. The art seems really cool. Yeah, it just seems like what Wizards would do with these. Yeah, it seems legitimate. Again, do not go out and buy cards for these commanders, though, until you talk to your play group and say, like, hey, like, are you all okay if I do this ahead of time, especially? Like, and it might be a good idea to do it ahead of time, because, like, sometimes you can save some money because, like, you're getting the cards that might go up in price that work well with these planeswalkers, planeswalker commanders. But again, you're taking a risk too, because it's not official yet. But again, if you're like, hey, are you okay, like, if I do this, and like if I do it and they end up not being real, are you okay if I just like proxy what this commander would have been, because like it's not a real card? If they say yeah, sure, go for it. If they don't say yeah, that's a risk you're gonna have to take if you really want to do that. And I personally wouldn't do that, but that's just okay. Regardless, comment below with your thoughts on all these are. What is your favorite out of all these? Do you like flip walkers, and do you think that these are real? So yeah, let me in the comments below. Stay tuned to this channel for, of course, even more exciting potential leaks between now and spoiler season. I think Modern Horizons comes out in June, I believe. So around the corner. I think spoiler season will probably be in May at some point, but not quite here yet. Regardless, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.